Trojan fans, welcome to another edition of the Peristyle Podcast on a Wednesday. I'm your host, Ryan Abraham, joined alongside Triple Dub, Connor Morrissette, and Automatic India Otto in the driver's chair over there. She got the best chair. It's like the gamer chair. Gerard got me that one if you're like into gaming. Total gaming chair. We got a fun show for you today. Seemed like forever ago because it was a Friday night game. USC takes down Northwestern and is looking forward to playing Iowa. Contrast in styles. Should be a lot of fun. Team that wants to have a rock fight with you. I used that term a lot the last time we were on the show. And USC wants to air it out. So it'll be fun to see what happens in the Coliseum. Maybe it's rainy. I don't know. I've escaped all the rain this past weekend watching like Southern California football because all the Midwestern football was crap. Now we might get crap out here in LA. So maybe I talk too much. Maybe I talk too much crap. And now the rain gods brought us some weather this weekend. But we'll see what happens with all that. If you have any questions or comments, podcast at uscfootball.com. You can call or text us at 424-254-9141. I say that fast if you're listening on, 1 and 5x speed or whatever, 1.5, probably really fast. I was listening to Chris's tailgate, the road trip podcast, and I think I speak pretty quickly because I listen on 1.5 speed. He sounds normal. I'm like, blah, 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 like an auctioneer or something. So sorry about that, but I'll do it real fast. 424-254-9141 is our number if you want to call and leave us a voicemail or a text. And if you have Apple Podcasts or Spotify, you can leave us a 5-star rating, and we love the reviews on Apple, and you can leave Spotify comments. I'll let you guys talk. I'll see if we have any new reviews on there. But how are you guys doing? I just did a whole intro all by myself. Sorry.
No, that was great. Doing well. Great. India, how are you?
I'm good. Happy Wednesday, guys.
Had a nice women's basketball win on Sunday. That was a great game.
Shout out Trojans on their win versus NC State.
Top 10 team, right? Or
top 10 team. Now we're 8 in the country, so that's exciting. Everybody, viewers, if you want to have something to do on Saturday before the football game, if it's too rainy, check out Crypto Arena. They play South Carolina. It's going to be a great game, so if you guys want to check that out.
It's after the football, right?
I think, is it? Yeah, you're right. It's at 6 p.m.
Yep. Football, 12:30, so you could do a double dip.
Yeah, you could do a double dip. Absolutely.
Ooh.
Head on out to Crypto.
Because USC game's at 12:30.
Yeah, and I forgot the women's game's at 6, so it's right after.
Let me see if we got any Spotify comments. Okay, no comments on our Spotify show. If you're on Spotify, leave us a comment. We'd like to do that. We did get a 5-star review for our buddy Chris Trevino, who came on the show, Tunnel Vision, on Sunday night. He says, getting better every day with Chris Trevino. The team gets better every day with Chris. He's entertaining. He's informative. He's really not phony. He works hard. Okay. So thanks for the 5-star review there. It's sort of a performance review. Not for CBS anymore because they laid him off. But he's going to work for us, so that'll be good. Good stuff. I want to thank our sponsor, Trader Joe's, as well. Now, I feel like I did some false advertising like a month or so ago because I pull it up on my screen, traderjoes.com, and what do I see? Meatball calzones. And I was like, oh, my God, I have to try that. And I was going to I think I was going to go to Trader Joe's, and I didn't find it, and I was sort of running late, and I didn't get it. And but I was in the Trader Joe's last week, and I picked one up, and for whatever reason, I thought there was like multiple. It's a foot long or so package, and I was like, oh, maybe there's like 2 of them in there. No, it's like one big meatball calzone, and did it in the air fryer, and it was crispy, and the sauce was great, and I loved the meatball calzone. So that's certainly something you want to give it a try. It's in the fresh section, so it's not frozen, but the meatball calzone, where they have some of the fresh pasta and stuff like that, wherever you find that. So I don't know if you're a calzone guy, but it was very good.
I am. I'll have to check that out. And I don't think that's false advertising. I think you're just loving the products, right?
I said I was going to try it, and then I missed it, and then I was like, I forget about it. And then I was like, almost going to walk out. Yeah, and I'm like, I got to get the meatball calzone, and I found it. And it was. I did pick up the. I got my grill clean, so I wanted to use the grill, and I bought the rosemary steak tips again, and just some. You get the small red potatoes. I cut them up. Put some olive oil, salt and pepper, and roast those on the grill too. And the broccoli floralettes are good. They have organic or like regular, and I've tried both, and they're good. So yeah, just do that with some olive oil. So did all that on the grill. It was great.
You're making me hungry, Ryan.
Yeah,
it's lunchtime.
Me too.
It is lunchtime. Yeah, we got. What do you want to do, India? I know we didn't. I'll just let you run it. Go.
Oh, okay. Should we talk some Iowa Hawkeyes? A little bit of a preview before the preview.
Yeah, we don't really do much with Northwestern, right? We sort of, I guess maybe
We can.
Yeah,
Up to
let's little. You guys got to talk to Lincoln Riley yesterday.
Injury updates too. We got to do.
Yeah, he like doubled down on this was a legal play, which makes sense. Seems like it was a legal play as far as the fake punt goes. Maybe afterwards when the punter punted, that would have been a 15-yard penalty. But yeah, so he didn't go into a lot of detail on that one.
No, I just said it was a totally legal play, and he gave his team credit for executing it well. I talked about this on Instant Analysis yesterday. I said we were going to put it to bed yesterday, but I guess we'll continue today.
Sorry.
Maybe today will be the last day of this. I just mentioned how I was disappointed with how the whole fake punt stuff was covered, where the next day, or maybe it was Sunday, you had national reporters saying the play was illegal, USC should have been penalized, when you got to read the fine print. If they were going to be penalized, it was going to be when Sam Johnson came on for that first punt, which when he did that was after Jade Mayava got sacked around midfield. 15-yard penalty would have pushed back USC about 15 yards to the 35-yard line, and then it would have just been business as usual.
Yeah.
So the play was not illegal, and I don't know why it's been characterized in that way, and I mentioned this yesterday. This is an example when I hear USC fans say, everyone hates us, it's USC against the world, SEC bias, all that stuff, where that makes sense to me in this context, because I think if a different team had pulled off that play, the coverage would have been different. That's my opinion on that.
No, I agree. And like my buddy Bruce Feldman was one of the guys reporting on it. He talked to Mike Pereira, who was saying it was illegal. And then I heard Bruce on his show sort of following up. And I guess there was some question, and he addressed a little bit that even though Sam Heward didn't punt, he lined up in punt formation. So I guess that would be, but he was the first guy to line up in punt formation. So technically he would be the number 80 punter. And so the fake punt, which was the huge play in the game, would have still been converted and USC would have scored and gone on to win or whatever. And then the one punt from midfield, like you said, maybe there would have been a 15-yard penalty on that. But yeah, so it even seemed like Mike Pereira, knew some of the technical parts of the rule, but I don't think the situation where it wasn't the punter that if the punter had went out and then Sam Heward went out, it would have been a different story. And USC went on social media and did a little more trolling and stuff. So they're kind of doubling down on it. So
well, I also think it's how you interpret the rule, because Sam Heward, yes, he was lined up in punt formation, but he didn't punt. So does that make him a punter?
Yeah, it sounded like from what Pereira was saying that it would be. But yeah, you're right. If he doesn't punt, does that? If you line up as a wide receiver, but you're a running back, are you now a wide receiver? The
Big Ten statement was not very pointed. I kind of felt like they danced around it a little bit. USC was not fined. They weren't penalized in the game. So I don't totally understand all the anger. I mean, it got through to my dad. My dad called me and was like, is Lincoln Riley a cheater? The narrative that's out there with this play is crazy to me. And I do think it's an example of USC sometimes not getting a fair shake. If Alabama had done this or Ohio State, don't you think it would be a little bit different?
Yeah, I love that. And this is for you guys out there. This is like mass hole fathers. This is a sort of like a canary in the coal mine thing. My dad would do the same thing. He'd be like, Caleb Williams. My dad would call me a Monday You know that Caleb Williams guy? I'm like, yes, Dad. I know who Caleb, the guy I cover all the time. And he did that once, India, with there's this Juju Watkins. But I'm like, yeah, Dad, I know who she is.
Everybody
interviewed
does.
her. It's my job. I don't know. So yeah. So when your dad's calling about stuff, then
That's
it's
funny.
okay. It's reached WEEI in
Right,
Massachusetts. So
And I give the staff and Lincoln Riley a lot of credit for this. I think the best coaches are people who push the envelope and interpret rules differently. And this is why I give USC credit for trying to figure out a way to play Notre Dame with a Netflix deal potentially that would go against the Big Ten media rights deal, where the Big Ten thinks the deal is this way, but USC is saying we interpret it a different way, and we'll have to see what happens with that. I like how there's some forward thinking going on, not only within the football program, but within the athletic department as well. That shows me that this whole unit has its head screwed on straight and they're thinking outside the box and they're just doing whatever it takes to try to get an advantage, which isn't that all you want for your team?
Yeah. I think when Dan Lanning, we call him Land Danning, did that at Oregon where it was like they had to change the rule because I think they went off sides or something to waste time or whatever it was.
A great example.
And it was like, that's genius. You're skirting around the rules. Like, Riley I'll give him credit. Like in the post-game press conference, he was like, y'all just need to be paying attention. Like he felt like some of the stuff you're like, I don't know if that's legal or not. Like he was 100% knew that this was a legal play. And to Shotgun's credit, and we talked about this before, we knew that this was something like this was going to happen. I guess we could have done more research into like, how can you do that? But we knew that Sam Heward was wearing number 80 and we were all sort of watching all the time. Like if there was a fake punt situation. Now I wasn't looking for it when that happened. But like other games, we were sort of like, maybe this could be the fake punt. This could be the fake punt. And they ran it,
I was mad at myself because I was watching like during the timeout and I saw 80 throwing it with his like left hand and I was like, oh, he throws a lot like Sam Heward. And he was tossing back and forth with Jaden and Walker and Jaden Richardson and they were just like all passing to each other. And I was like, God, he really like thought he was number 7. And then I was like, whatever. And it was for like 5 minutes. Then he went out and did the trick play. And I was like, yeah, that was Sam the whole time. And then I saw on Twitter people were saying it was the kicker, and I was like, no, that was definitely like not the kicker. It was funny.
Yeah, the broadcast messed that up too. I
broadcast
watched the game this morning, but I like that duo, Jason Benetti and RG3. They just made a mistake, but
Benetti was, partners with Heward.
Yeah,
his uncle, and he's got like, I'm going to get crushed on social media, and he did get crushed for not knowing that. But that's a good point, India. Like. He was wearing number 80 throwing on the sidelines.
Yeah,
so like
it was
that was
for
something
5
you
minutes.
could have seen. Yeah, you could have seen that. So it wasn't like it was obviously it was good. It was well camouflaged or whatever, but it wasn't like he was wearing 7 all the time, then switched to 80 and he was throwing passes with number 80 on the sideline. So
I think he wore 80 during the Notre Dame game, but I'm not sure he wore 80 against Nebraska, so I don't know if that means anything or if that plays into it. On the game day roster, I think he was listed as 80. But the bottom line is this. If USC did something wrong, they would have been formally punished, and that didn't happen. The Big Ten just kind of danced around it and said more like, maybe it should have been a 15-yard penalty. That's something that will be looked at in the offseason, I'm sure, and when you kind of push the envelope a little bit, which I give them a lot of credit for, I think that's a good thing. Rules will be changed in the offseason, and that's just called being ahead of the curve. I like that a lot. Did you like that they did it against Northwestern, though? That was my one thing.
Yeah.
Did you really need to bust it out in this game?
Yeah, it would have been good for Iowa, especially because they're focused on special teams, or Oregon on the road. Although Dan Lanning might, they might have had that up their sleeve. They do all kinds of crazy stuff up there. But I think the Iowa game would be a good one for that. But they used it. They could. It's not like they can't use it again, but. It might help your.
You have to do something different.
It would help your punt coverage where you're just like, oh, is this, they could have like Sam Johnson like throwing left-handed, just like, oh, wait, is that Sam Heward? Kind of thing. So we weren't going to talk about it. We talked about it a lot.
Well, it's probably the most interesting thing from that game other than Maeva pick, forced fumble, touchback. That was a phenomenal play. I still think USC wins that game, even if it's a pick 6 there, but it's more of a tractor pull. There's a lot more questions in the second half, of course. Just a 14-point swing is massive. King Miller running for 55 yards on the very next play after the touchback was crazy. And I took it too far, I think, in the postgame when I asked Riley, did that change the trajectory of the season? He was like, I don't know how much it changed the trajectory of the season, but it certainly changed the game a little bit. And, man, I think that's my favorite play of the year so far.
Yeah. It was Woody Marks had one
against Michigan.
Yeah, that was a big one. I mean, they didn't win that game, but huge play there. And Maeva had another huge one too.
It was a great play.
Yeah, and then so anything else from practice, like injury, like India mentioned, injury updates or anything, or
Big General Reed hurt his ankle and it was really taped up. He came up late out to the tunnel to practice. He had his pads on, which was good. I kind of think Killian O'Connor will start after coming in to replace Reed on Friday. So Reed is the one that's kind of up in the air. Tanook Hines looked good after not playing in the second half and being questionable with a shoulder injury. King Miller is totally fine from that shoulder stinger. There was a little bit of commotion at the tunnel yesterday, so Chris and I missed King Miller come out, some woman was late for work, and all the players were crossing the street, and the lady was yelling, "Let me through! I'm late for work! I'm late for work!" And then Eric Gentry started yelling at her. It was hilarious. So we missed King Miller, but he's totally fine. I asked Riley after how Miller's doing, and he said he was good. And then there was one other injured guy who we talked about on Instant Analysis, who I'm forgetting. It'll come back to me, but I think they were good as well.
Nice.
I'll have to look. Give me a second.
Cool. Well, that's good. Yeah, I think USC is going into this one relatively healthy, and it's obviously a huge matchup. Like I mentioned at the top of the show, contrasting styles. Kirk Ferentz sort of took a couple shots at Lincoln Riley, I think last week when they were talking about Iowa and like not scoring a lot and why points per game and points per drive and all these stats and Kirk Ferentz was like, yeah, all these offensive stats was like I like wins per game, like that's what he's focused on. And it's one of those things where you saw Oregon kind of get down into the weeds with Iowa on the road in crappy weather and really play Iowa football and having the lead late, and then Iowa like puts a drive together and takes the lead late, and then Oregon comes back and gets the win right after that, where you kind of have like this offensive flurry at the end of the game. But they really got down into the weeds with Iowa and tried to outplay Iowa at Iowa football, which is unique style. And I'm not sure that's going to be the recipe for success for USC. I think it's one of those cases where you want to have your statistical leader at quarterback, Jade Mayava, the best QBR in the country, throwing the ball all over the field to Mekhi Lemon and to Jacoby Lane and King Miller breaking off some big runs and using the tight ends and guys making some spectacular catches and showcasing your best asset, which is your offense, and trying to put more pressure on Iowa to force to use their offense. So the offense is sort of like, hey, we're going to play for field position so we can punt and pin you deep kind of stuff. But if you go out and score 14 points to start, you can't do that. So I'm really curious to see if USC can get that going and sort of do whatever you can to take Iowa out of their game, which is more about the field position and sound defense and all that kind of stuff. So not that, that's a big part of football, but I think there's really contrasting styles here. So if I'm USC, I'm not trying to, and it might be rainy and it might make things tough, but I'm opening this thing up, man. I'm going to try spread it out, throw the ball around, let your spectacular wide receivers make spectacular plays and try to put Iowa in an uncomfortable position. If you turn the ball over to start and Iowa kicks a field goal, now they're up 3-0 and they can just grind. And, that's not where you want to be. So I really, USC needs to get a quick start here. Not like what they had at Nebraska, more like what you saw Northwestern, where you score, first couple possessions. So that's what I'm looking for.
Real quick, Marcellus Williams was the guy I couldn't remember, and he left practice in pads, which I think is a good sign, and he returned to the game. So we'll see with him. To your point there, so Oregon, their top receiver was out, their tight end was out, and it showed. Dante Moore had that great throw at the end to set up the field goal, but Oregon wanted to play Iowa football because they were kind of had to. They didn't have their top pass catchers. So for USC, the fact that Mekhi Lemon is healthy, Jacoby Lane is the healthiest he's been in weeks, the tight ends are back, Tanu Kynes looks healthy, you have King Miller still at the running back spot, all the skill guys are available. So I think it's not going to be USC trying to play Iowa's game like Oregon is. It's going to be them, like you said, spreading it out because everyone's available. And I want to see how Iowa responds to that on the road against an offense that has everyone available. The elephant in the room is the freaking weather. What's going to happen with this game on Saturday if it's a crazy downpour? USC's passing game when they were down against Notre Dame did not look very good in a downpour in the fourth quarter in South Bend. South Bend is different than Los Angeles. I have no idea what the weather is going to look like other than I'm seeing what everyone else is seeing. It's 100% chance of rain Saturday, but when is that and will that be over the Coliseum? LA is massive, so it's tough to project that. I asked Tobias Raymond yesterday if they talked about the rain at all. He said, I didn't even know it was going to rain, so I don't think they've gotten that far yet. But that's the elephant in the room. That's going to be what determines how USC can play on offense. If it's a downpour, that's going to change things. On paper, though, I totally agree with you. Spread them out, play your game, run to set up the pass, and see if Iowa can defend it. Their defense is obviously pretty good, but it goes back to what we've talked about the last couple of weeks. Northwestern's defense is good. Nebraska's defense is good. They haven't seen an offense like USC so far. Nebraska did a better job than Northwestern did. That's a huge part of this.
You said the run to set up the pass. I kind of look at it. It seems to me like USC, and I guess you could look at it either way, but a lot of times the run game is set up because you're worried about the passing game. So it's like almost like they're passing to set up the run, and they do those kind of quick hitters, and they like to pull their tackles and guards, and it's been really effective. But a lot of the times it's like sort of putting defenses on their heels, and you're like, okay, they can throw it this way, they can throw it here. What's going on? And then you pop the run game sort of pops, and but I think it's complementary either way. But it seems to me a lot of times like they're throwing to sort of set up the run, which traditionally you're like run the ball, set up the play action pass or whatever. But USC I think runs it a little differently.
That happened on the first drive. I think Maeva completed 9 passes on the first drive against Northwestern after completing 9 the week before the whole game against Nebraska. So I do think in that first drive they passed it more, but they're running the ball more than they ever have with Lincoln Riley. So I do think a big part of it this year is the run to set up the pass. So we'll have to see what they choose to do against Iowa, but you're right. It's a two-way street. It's not all we're going to run it on first down every time, and then that'll set up the pass. It's
good
different.
balance. I think it is good balance.
And I thought Lincoln Riley had one of his best games of the year as a play caller against Northwestern. The run to Mekhi Lemon to put the game away in the second half, that 4-yard carry where they faked the sweep, that was a beautiful play. And Lemon just consistently getting open was huge, and King Miller had some nice runs. I felt like once USC saw that Northwestern was going to be very aggressive and try to get downhill, Riley was able to scheme around that, and he made Mac Uline, who's a really good linebacker, on a few plays just run out of the play. So I give them a lot of credit, and things are shaping up nicely for USC these last 3 games. 2 of them look to be challenging, and then the rivalry game against UCLA, who knows when you put those 2 teams together, anything can happen, but the team is certainly trending in a really positive direction.
Jeff in the chat, if you want to put it up, India, he just said, it will rain at the Coliseum.
I was literally, I was going to put it up, yeah.
We love Jeff. But Jeff, as of yesterday, my buddy canceled a Thursday tea time because it was definitely going to rain on Thursday and no other day. And we're like, I'm like, why you cancel? He canceled the tea time. Okay, well, now it doesn't look like it's going to rain on Thursday, and it's going to rain Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's like, okay, so tomorrow it might, call for snow. I don't know, but it changes all the time. We don't know what's going to happen. I wouldn't say it's definitely going to rain on Saturday. So, I mean, remember the Purdue game? I only looked 2 days before, sunny and 84 degrees, and then we had a 3-hour lightning delay. So that was not in the forecast. So we don't know what's going to happen. And usually in LA, when we prepare for this stuff, it's Storm Watch 2025 because you're going to get a 1/4 inch of rain, and it's like all the news. I know you don't watch the news, India, but all of that's all they talk about is the rain. And I love the meme where they show like a lawn chair like tipped over, and they say we will rebuild. That's usually what this is. So there's usually a lot of hype around rain in LA, and then we get like a little pluck, and that's about it. So,
but Ryan, it's an atmospheric rain.
Oh, yeah, I don't care. Whatever.
He said he predicted the rain in Purdue.
He did, yeah. Way to go, Jeff. Well, maybe we just listen to you. Yeah, I wouldn't worry about it too much. And it's Southern California. Come on.
It's not going to be a torrential downpour. We know that.
It was so miserable watching football. I mean, it wasn't miserable sitting on my couch watching football, but I felt miserable for the people that were looking at their play sheets and like, I don't know how that electronic. It's just like everything's just pouring down, and it just looks
paper is crumbling.
Not fun. Yeah.
Do you remember the last rain game inside the Coliseum? Might have been a Dory Jackson against Notre Dame. I saw on Twitter.
Notre Dame won. Yeah, that was a while back.
Doesn't happen often.
If you got to go back like almost a decade for a rain game, you're like, we'll see. You might get a little bit. I was probably rooting for it.
Yeah.
They just played it.
Do you think the early crowd and the weather, or the early game time and the weather will affect the crowd?
the Friday crowd impressed me more than I thought it would. Like, it wasn't there early, but people showed up. I mean, it seemed like the environment was pretty good. So yeah, I think people are going to come. And I think this is a big enough one where Northwestern wasn't that big of a game, as far as like this one. I think people are starting to realize like, oh, like you actually have a real shot at the college football playoff. And this is the team that just, Iowa and Oregon played. Those are your next two opponents. So I think a lot of people watched Iowa. And I really do think like the conflicts in styles, like, is this going to be a 17-14 game? Like, that's probably not good for USC. But we've seen Iowa put up a bunch of points at certain times this year. Not against the best competition or whatever, but, and I don't know if it's bulletin board material, but Kirk Ferentz did take some shots at, like, those teams that score lots of points, like that's not what he's worried about. He wants to play complementary football, and it's not like but their offense looks a lot better than it has, over the last couple of years. So Iowa can do some stuff. But I think USC's offense is still the best unit out there, so you got to showcase that.
Blackie Chan said it's homecoming, so it should be filled.
Oh,
so
yeah.
That's a good point.
Iowa's defense is pretty good, too. I do think it rivals the USC offense.
Yeah, it's real good.
The fact that it's inside the Coliseum makes a big difference. And I just wonder mentally where Iowa's at. They suffered their third defeat to Oregon and a heartbreaking loss at home, so that knocks them out of the playoff. And now they got to come to L.A., a place they lost last year at UCLA, a bad UCLA team they lost. And Iowa had a decent season a year ago. On paper, they probably should have won that game. So there are some things working against them. And you try to just talk about what's going to happen on paper in this matchup and that matchup, but between the motivation piece, the weather, there's some interesting stuff that we can chat about as well, and we have. I mean, I think the rain will affect the game a little bit more than you do, I think.
You're always worried about weather.
Well, I was right about Notre Dame. It
Yeah.
effed them in the fourth quarter.
Yeah. Connor worries about certain things. We're at the game. He's always got to figure out, like, it's almost like the escape route. Like, how do we get to the post-game press conference?
Yeah, and I missed the Nebraska one, so that's why I do that.
He's super concerned. Like, oh, Connor, let's find out where So everyone's like a fire drill trying to figure out where the post-game press conference. And to be fair, like,
Iowa or Nebraska was a maze.
Yeah, once I've been to ones and I still get lost and it's like walking around. I got stuck in some 7 flights of stairs. I was like, oh, I'll go up these stairs. I think it was at Nebraska, and I'm like, there was no way out. Like, it was only down.
You were locked in?
I had to get up to like the 6th or 7th floor, and I was like, and it was like, multiple staircases per floor, and I was on the first to go, I climbed a lot of stairs just to like get back to the press press box after that. So there's a lot of weird stuff in these stadiums that if you're not familiar with, so I get it. But those are one of the things Connor's worried about. The weather. There's always that going on. So
well, if it was 70 and sunny, wouldn't you be pretty confident in USC?
Yeah, I would be. And I think your point of that Iowa coming to the West Coast last year and losing to a not great UCLA team, you still had a couple, like, they had better wins in the Big Ten than USC did last year. They beat Nebraska on the road. They beat Iowa at home. So USC's best win was like Nebraska at home. But now they got the Nebraska win on the road. This will be, the Michigan win at home. Obviously, that's the best one they've had. And this would be right up there with that. So I think this is one where it's a team that's down a little bit. You got to face that earlier with Illinois. And Illinois was the complete bounce back game. To Connor's point, like, this is the third loss. I don't know if there's like big bounce back time for Iowa, but and I don't know if there's. I know someone in the chat was asking about like bulletin board material and stuff. Like, I saw that stuff, and it's just like
that was December of 2023, though. That was a long time ago.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was more recent.
The Kirk Ferentz stuff, making fun of Riley. Unless there's some other stuff that I'm not aware of.
So my bad then. I think someone shared that on the P. I thought that was more recent than that.
No, okay. People just love to hold grudges.
Then I will remember it too. Well, my apologies.
It's almost 2 years ago.
I thought that was more recent, but hey, I like it.
And then that media day, I think 2 years ago, Ferentz was asked about it, and he said, you took the high road. So I think that's been put to bed a little bit. But hey, whatever helps you sleep at night.
I'm going to bring it back.
If that gets you going, then keep it alive.
He hates offense. He hates Lincoln Riley. No, I'm just kidding. He seems like a really nice person and been doing this a long time. Is he the longest tenured coach in college football? He's up there.
He has to be, right?
Yeah,
How long has Whittingham been at Utah?
Yeah. He's been He's been there a long time. But yeah, I think Ferentz has been there longer. But I do want to see, this is sort of the good opportunity. And one of the most frustrating things is when you see a team that's more defense, special teams, field position, and a high power offensive team. Sometimes you see the high power offense team make that defensive team look silly because they score a couple times and they're just like out of sorts. But you make a couple mistakes early, and then that defensive team can sort of boa constrictor you.
Yeah, kind of almost like what Northwestern did. If that pick six had happened, we maybe would have seen some of that.
They were trying a little bit of that. Though they were scoring, though, early. They were responding to USC scoring. That's like, usually that happens where you're just not happy. So it is kind of fun. And I don't know why, but I always tend to, it doesn't have to be whoever USC is involved with, just any sort of, those are the two styles. I always kind of am rooting for that offensive style because you're just like, you could really make a defensive team look bad that you're like, oh, how's your quarterback not throwing forward passes going now? It's like a lot of 3rd and 10s and you just can't do anything. So, I could see this going a couple different ways. If you're seeing it early on and USC like fumbles a kickoff return and Iowa starts with a field goal, you're like, oh man, it's probably going to go in one direction. Or USC takes the opening drive and scores a touchdown and forces a 3 and out, and it's like scores again. You're like, okay, this is going to go another way. But I think it's extremely important for USC to play those scripted drives, play flawless early in this game because it changes the complexion when you can put up a couple touchdowns early. And USC's done that a bunch and sort of like backed off. I don't know if Iowa's a team that can kind of like respond as good as some of these other teams have if USC's able to score early.
This year, the pendulum has swung the other way. Last year, we were asking who's more ready for who. Is Lincoln Riley ready for the Big Ten? Is the Big Ten ready for Lincoln Riley? And last year, it looked like the Big Ten was ready for Lincoln Riley. This year, USC's outscoring everyone, and pendulum's gone the other way. So if they stay true to form this week, I see USC outscoring Iowa. That's just been the recipe. Did it against Northwestern, did it against Nebraska. That's been the way USC's won games, and we'll see if it can continue.
Yeah. Anything else, guys? Maybe we should...
Should we take a quick break before we get into some voicemails?
Let's
questions?
do it. Yeah.
All right. We will return.
Hey. We're back here. I don't know if you were going to do it, India, but my apologies.
No,
if
you were great.
We're live on YouTube, live on Facebook. If you have comments, put them in there. Questions, India can put them up on the screen.
We've got a lot of questions today, which is
Perfect.
good.
That's great. And I know we got a couple of voicemails and an email to get to, so maybe we can start with those, India.
Let's do it.
Hey, Ryan, this is for the whole Peristyle. I watched the Big Ten feature on YouTube about the Miller brothers, King and Kayvon Miller. And when they talked to their parents and the two brothers at their house, the house was beautiful. Swimming pools, beautiful, Calabasas. And I just thought, wow, these kids have it pretty good. And then the mom says that her big brother is Dr. Dre. So, more Hollywood to the King Miller and his twin brother story. Curtis from Moreno Valley.
Sounds like Curtis wants to be from Calabasas,
Yes.
not Moreno Valley.
I watched that video too. It's phenomenal. It's awesome to see when King gets the scholarship or the walk-on offer to USC. Scholarship's coming soon. He said, "Can my brother come with me?" And they said yes, and that's just a nice story. But those guys have been awesome this year. And Kalen Miller playing a little fullback against Northwestern. He got in as an extra offensive lineman. So even when he isn't in on the offensive line, he's still part of the game plan. Great story, those two guys.
Yeah, pretty cool. And I think he likes the Hollywood aspect. And that's one of the things when you're recruiting. Now, obviously, money is a big part of recruiting too, but using those sort of connections that you wouldn't get if you were, recruiting to Lincoln, Nebraska, right? You're trying to use the LA connections and all these people that are related to, it was still funny. Like we were doing the YouTube show and like Warren G is watching. And I'm like, oh, who's someone? I'm like, no, that's the actual Warren G because his son was on the team. It's like, oh, okay. Like weird stuff like that going on. Like, yeah, you don't get that a lot of other places.
Well, we'll have to look out for Dr. Dre.
Yeah, in
See
the
if
chat.
he's
I'll
in the
keep an
chat,
extra eye out.
Hey guys at the Peristyle. Thanks for the great job. Obviously coming off a good win against Northwestern. The question I have is, who picks the schedule? Is there a Big Ten hierarchy that picks the schedule? Because next year is a freaking murderer's row. I think the only good team we're not playing that's kind of a top echelon would be Michigan. Can you explain how it ended up that next year's absolutely killer? And do you think with the top recruiting class that comes in, they're going to have much of an impact? Because we're going to need an impact right away because we've got a tough schedule next year. Anyways, I'd just like to know what you think about the schedule, obviously in correlation to what we've seen this year. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
The conference makes the schedule, but I don't know why USC hasn't played Ohio State yet. There's some formula they use. The rivals for USC, the protected games are it's UCLA, right? That's the only one.
I think so, yeah.
So that's why they don't play Washington. If they were going to take all the West Coast schools, then it would have been the three of them. But I think the only protected rival is UCLA, and then it's on a schedule. You play a certain amount of teams every 3 years because I think there's 18, so it's all mixed up. But just to run through it next year, Fresno State, at Indiana, at Penn State, at Rutgers, at UCLA, home against Maryland, home Ohio State, home Oregon, home Washington, at Wisconsin, and then maybe Notre Dame. We'll have to see if that gets finalized. So it is really hard, and the conference is in charge of those schedules. But I think you're just going to end up with a hard schedule every now and then in this league, right?
Yeah,
that's
and
kind of how I see it.
You didn't know Indiana was going to be a juggernaut when that was created, so that's one thing. And Michigan was like the national champion or whatever, and they haven't been as good, and USC's beat them. I mean, so it just depends on what's happening. But yeah, to not have played Ohio State, to have a whole bunch of trips to the Pacific Northwest. Now you got both of those teams in LA next year. So we were just in Oregon 2 years ago, and Washington the year before, going to Oregon again. But then you get both of those teams, and so it's not like a draft and you're like, oh, we want to play this team. It's the conference makes it up. And for the most part, I think USC's been, we haven't seen them playing in the Midwest in November or anything, right? So it's not been, their road games have been West Coast schools in the last month of the season. So that's been good.
I do think the Big Ten has done a nice job with scheduling. People complain that USC played Northwestern on a short week at home when Northwestern had the bye. There's going to be stuff like that happens. Any home game is good, and it's Northwestern. I agree. The fact that USC had 2 byes in October, that's not ideal, but rest is key. So I didn't totally understand that argument. I think people just like to complain about stuff sometimes. So the schedule next year is tough. The 2026 class, could there be some guys who help out? Absolutely. Probably multiple years down the line until you really feel the effects of that class. But, next year is a big one. Here's a question for you that won't make any friends or make me any friends. So the whole rumor with Oklahoma was when they were going to the SEC, Lincoln Riley wanted none of it. USC's got a tough schedule next year. Links to him going elsewhere. Is he afraid of the schedule?
Oh.
Ryan, your thoughts?
I wouldn't think that's part
because
of
next
it.
year they're set up to be pretty good, USC,
Yeah.
but that schedule is tough for sure.
It's a tough schedule, but the big class coming in, I think realistically, people in that building were looking for 2026 to be the year they could take a step forward. The schedule's tougher, but obviously that's more opportunities to win bigger games, And if you have a schedule like that, heck, a 9-3 might get you into the playoff. Where there's some teams like in the SEC where you're saying the same thing. There's still a possibility there, but there's good opportunities. Some great home games. It should be a lot of fun. So I wouldn't think that that's like as big of a factor or anything. USC set up to win next year, and maybe Jade Mayava comes back. I think there's a lot going on there. I mean, if you were going to go to like Florida, I think that's going to be way tougher than what USC has right now in that schedule. So I think if that's the case, like if you're just judging what's going to be more difficult place to win, I don't think you're ducking this to go to like the abyss of where, I mean, not that Florida's a great place. Holy crap, like you're rebuilding in that where everyone is like trying to be good and it's like Vanderbilt's good now. Like what is going on? Like that's not going to be an easy place to go and win. LSU is not going to be an easy place to go and rebuild and win. I think you almost need an Indiana thing where you're bringing in a whole bunch of dudes from the place that you came to try and get something jump-started there. So I wouldn't think this is like a deterrent. I think it's like, yeah, that's tough, but holy crap, going to some of those other situations would be tougher.
I asked that in jest. I don't think he would run from the schedule, but I did want to talk about this, so I'm glad we're getting right to it here.
Okay.
The links to some of these other programs for Riley, and I asked around this week, tried to get a little bit more information, and I talked to someone who's plugged in who mentioned how we've heard that it was his agent doing some bidding. It sounds like, as it happens during coaching searches, people have approached him, and the word I got is he isn't necessarily shutting it down. That doesn't mean anything right now, but it sounds like they're just entertaining conversations with some schools. And I wonder, do you think he feels appreciated at USC, and why the need to do that when on paper, especially if you can get Jade Mayava to come back next year, it looks like USC would be set up to have its best team since that second Caleb Williams year, or the first Caleb Williams year. The second one we thought might be good. It didn't end up happening. But next year should be pretty good if everything falls into place. So I'm wondering why he would be entertaining that stuff right now.
Yeah, it's interesting if that's true. Like if he's really, entertaining.
And there's levels to it. Like, of course, you're going to listen to everything. You got to do your due diligence. I can't speak to like how serious he's entertaining stuff, but that's just what I was told.
And I think there's a situation where if you were a coach and there's like 2 years left on your deal and you're turning things around and, who knows, they make a run at the college football playoff. A lot of times coaches like that are going to get some kind of extension. But in Riley's case, like he signed some crazy deal already and you're in the, still in the front half of it. Like you're not even to the back half of this deal that's not, favorable to USC and it's super favorable to the head coach. But you signed that 4 years ago or whatever, and it's like nothing new. We saw something similar happen with Nico Iamaleava or whatever how you say his name?
Iamaleava?
Iamaleava, yeah. And he signed a crazy, amazing deal for him, but then other quarterbacks were getting, like Carson Beck went to Miami and got like $4 million a year, and he was making over $2 million and was kind of like a mediocre coach. And Lincoln Riley had a good first year, but it's been pretty mediocre results since then. Like, I don't think if you're like, oh, what should an $11 million a year coach produce? It's not what's been happening at USC as a cumulative effort the last 4 years. Nico, over a $2 million quarterback. I don't think that's what he was producing, but his people wanted more, and Tennessee was like, all right, we can do better for $2.5 million, and they let him walk. And could it be a situation like that happens at USC too? You're like, hey, you've already signed this crazy deal. Do you want more money or whatever? If that's the case, then, it would be a decision for USC to let him walk or give him an extension or give, more money. So I don't know, maybe it's something involved with that, but you're probably not getting the same love you would get if you had 2 years left on your deal. He's on the front end of a massive, the biggest deal USC's ever signed. And looking at the numbers, he hasn't lived up to that deal. He's not an $11 million a year coach, So I don't know. So it's way above my pay grade what's going on here, but it is interesting to see, how this all plays out and agents and what they're doing and everything. It's nuts.
And we can move on in a second, but I just wanted to end with this. I wonder if it's a little bit of him wanting maybe more power or maybe not feeling as appreciated as he thinks he should be. I keep going back to that because I wouldn't be surprised. Like in his mind, we're hearing the last few press conferences, the last few times he's spoken, like we're in this position here to push for the playoff, and they are. If they win out, they'll make the college football playoff. And I think he maybe hasn't felt the love that he feels like he deserves for putting USC in this position. On the flip side, you'd say, well, what have they done this year? That's exactly been a surprise so far. Now, if you beat Oregon, that changes the whole complexion of everything. But maybe in his head, it's been 4 years. But hey, I took this thing over. It was 4-8. Yes, we were sort of up and down with NIL, and that didn't go great at first. But like, I'm putting this in the right direction, and I don't know why I'm not feeling more love. I have a hard time thinking it's a financial thing when he has this huge contract in the house, and maybe it's a little bit of power, a little bit of like, hey, look, I'm putting this team in a good position. I don't know why people are still so frustrated with the past. That would be my guess, but we'll just have to see what happens as time goes on, keep asking around and see what more information we can get.
And I think the game has changed too, because with Nick Saban, like he was the czar of anything Alabama, like there, and I don't think you can even, it's hard to do that now. You need a strong AD that's helping on the administrative side, because you got to have someone, not just fundraising, like House of Victory stuff, but you're like big boosters, like, hey, we need this many millions to like pump into our roster, and how are we going to do this? And you don't even want to talk about like trying to do buyouts and things like that. And you need a strong GM that's doing, their job and trying to bring in all, retain talent, bring all in. And it's changed. I think if you want all the power as a college football coach, I don't think it's going to be a lot harder to be successful, because there's so many more aspects to maintaining and building a roster and the everything that goes into it. You need strong people that are doing that. And I know some coaches have had a harder time. I'm not saying Lincoln Riley's had a hard time adjusting that. It's different. But you went from like absolute power to you need all this other help. And I don't know, maybe that's part of it too, trying to adjust to life like that, because it's definitely different. And we've seen some coaches kind of get out of the game, because it used to just be they were the king of everything. And it could work that way. But, Kalen DeBoer is doing a great job there, but you need really strong personnel people around you. You can't just be all of it on your own, so you need all of that.
USC just finally seems set up for success, so the timing of all of this is odd.
Yeah, you got the right people around you. You got strong personnel people. You got strong administrative people. You got strong coaching staffs. You have the number 1 recruiting class coming in. Like, this is what you put all those pieces together. But you never know what's going on behind the scenes.
You never know.
Yeah.
Should we get into our email?
Yes.
Yeah, let's do that.
That was awesome, though. Okay, we've got one email today. What do you think is the issue with the run defense when we start games? Even when we played Notre Dame, the run defense was horrible at the beginning of the game. Notre Dame, Nebraska, and Northwestern all ran the ball well to start the game. With the way USC played against Michigan, this is concerning. It's as if the coaching staff does not know how to stop the run until later in the game. I know USC can play great defense. Why do you think it is hard for them to play well for 4 quarters? Terrence from North Carolina.
It's a great question.
Hey, Terrence.
I wonder which defensive coach or personnel member is in charge of the script for the opposing offense and game planning for what the opposing offense is going to do early on, because it does seem like the past couple of weeks USC hasn't been able to just work through what they thought the other team was going to do. They've looked surprised. They've looked out of position. They've just looked slow, and I think that's part of it. And opposing offenses, those opening scripts, that's going to be your best stuff. That's going to be what you worked on all week. That's going to be crisp. But I do think USC, and with that defensive staff being as good as it is, you should expect better results than an opening touchdown every game for the last 3 weeks. Like, that's not good enough. So I would question who is in charge of getting the defense ready for the beginning of these games with that script stuff, because I don't think that's been very good.
Yeah, and for all the people that are like, if USC wins the toss, defer. Connor said they've given up opening touchdowns in the last 3 games, so maybe don't defer if that's what you're going to do every time.
Yeah, play with the lead. I have no problem with them taking the ball. They're an offensive team, and if you want to play with a lead, that's fine.
Nice.
We got a lot of questions.
Okay, cool.
So let's get into them.
In the chat, thank you for joining us on YouTube and Facebook. And Indy will go through your questions now.
Yeah, let's go. All right, first question from Larry Hunter. Outside of King Miller, which players have been the most positive, pleasant surprises this season?
I think all of the offensive linemen, some of their grades have been up and down, but the way the units played has been great. Tobias Raymond has been awesome. Both centers have been good for the most part. Justin Tauanu'u, Alani Noah. I like what I've seen from him. Kalen Miller, when he's had to come in, has been good. Elijah Page has been solid. So I start with those guys. I think DeCarlos Nicholson is coming on strong at the corner. I like what I've seen from him. He's been, I don't want to say pleasant surprise. He was always in position to be the starting corner, but he's just having a nice year. So I want to give him some credit. And then other surprises. Pretty early on, Bishop Fitzgerald showed that he's really good, and you never really know the transfer, so it's probably wrong to call him a surprise, but he's just been good. So off the top of my head, him, and we all had really high hopes for Lemon and Lane, and they've been solid. And Jade Mayava's been kind of a present surprise too, right?
I was waiting for that one.
Pleasant surprise.
Me too.
Yeah, like he's a huge part of this. I think leading the nation in QBR. He's right up there. He's number 3 right now in yards per attempt, behind Julian Sam from Ohio State and C.J. Carr.
Carr's surprising, but I
yeah, he's
guess
got
when
10.1.
they
Yeah,
don't
they're a
play
running
anyone-
team, or Sands got some amazing receivers and stuff to throw to, but so does Mayava. But he's playing really well. He had one clunker of a game that they end up winning. So yeah, I think he's one of the bigger surprises too.
Awesome. Our next question is also from Larry Hunter, and he asks, being around the program on a daily basis, do you believe that the team culture has evolved positively to meet the current expectations of the next couple of weeks' games as favorites?
Culture seems good to me. We asked Kamari Ramsey in our House of Victory interview Monday night about that, and he said the difference this year is the team's hanging out a lot more outside of football, so that's good. It's always hard to quantify that when you're on the outside, even though we're around them a lot. We can't really see a ton of that stuff. They were celebrating something after practice yesterday. Not sure what that was, but we heard a lot of hooting and hollering. So it does seem in a good spot to me. And I always go back to, you haven't heard anything about off-the-field issues. No one's entered the transfer portal halfway through the year. I do think the buy-in with this group is really good, and that stands out.
Yeah, it was good. Check out that House of Victory interview. Kamari Ramsey, return guest. He crushed it. So make sure you go see it on our YouTube channel, or it's on USCfootball.com too.
And his Eagles got a big win. That was an ugly one. But
yeah, he had a
ended up
Jalen Hurts
winning.
jersey on his chair and stuff. Yeah. I think we were recording it while it was going on.
Yeah, it was the third quarter, and then I watched the fourth quarter, and I'm sure he did too.
What is the final score of that? Was it like
10-7? It was terrible.
Oh yeah.
Yikes. Blackie Chan asks, with Iowa giving up 270 yards on the ground, do you trust our rushing offense over our passing?
Well, you have to look at Oregon's situation. They had no pass catchers who they trusted, and they had all 4 of their running backs. So their game plan was to run, and it worked. But Iowa only gave up 18 points. I think trying to compare what Oregon did on the ground to what USC is going to do, it's a little bit different. The only running back USC has, with all due respect to the reserves, it's King Miller. If King Miller, for whatever reason, isn't able to play, that is a killer. I do not trust any of those other guys. So the fact that Oregon had 4 running backs in that game, and that was their game plan, that changed it. So I think USC will, of course, try to run the ball, but they're just looking at one single back that they'll have to stop compared to the 4 for Oregon. It's going to be a totally different game plan. So I wouldn't look too much into what Iowa did defensively in that game, stopping Oregon. Oregon, they played like Iowa. Their game plan was run, and when we need to, we'll pass, but they used Dante Moore in the run game too. It was just a totally unique game plan that I do not think applies to USC.
Yeah.
Jake asks, will USC be wearing throwbacks this week?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything about that.
There you go. That was a quick one.
Yeah. No.
Fight on Natties says, do you believe Bama #1 fanboy
Paul Feinbaum
and other talking chicken heads of ESPN are trying to purposely sabotage USC's recruiting by saying that Lincoln will leave to take another job?
I don't think that's happening.
Yeah, I don't either. And to be honest, like, this was a recruiting class there's a lot of money that was thrown around for this one. Don't look at it like the old recruiting class. Like, USC could switch head coaches, and I think a lot of those guys will still be there. So, yeah, I mean, there'll definitely be disruption, but I wouldn't put a lot of stock into that.
And then Blackie Chan has another question. He says, do you think players have seen what Iowa's head coach said?
Last year, almost 2 years ago.
2
now.
years ago, yeah.
I'd have to go back and listen to the clip, but what did he say? We care about.
It was like points per win. I mean, wins per wins per game, not points per or whatever. It's like wins per something like that. And but there was a couple. Someone posted that. I didn't realize that was from like 2 years ago. So my apologies.
Maybe to
bringing it
answer the question, but I don't know why you got to get so offended. Wasn't like USC in a really bad place when he said that year?
Probably was,
Wasn't he kind of right?
Yeah.
Times have changed. We've got a question from Ted. SC D-line thoughts. Do you think the adjustments made in the Northwestern game would be applicable to slow the Iowa run game?
I rewatched today. I couldn't speak to the specific adjustments that USC made. I saw in the first half, Keyshawn Silver got pushed by a pulling tackle way out of position, and I didn't see much of that in the second half. I take some of what the team and the coaches have said at face value, where the communication was just better and they were more disciplined. So I also think the fact that Northwestern was playing from behind and needed to come back, it's easier to defend that team when they're in that position. So I do think that was a part of it. But if you want to ask about specific adjustments, Shotgun would be a good guy to ask on our site or on social media. He's more tuned into that stuff.
We've got 5 more questions.
Wow. Okay.
We got a lot today. It's good. We've got one from Walter. Question, please explain PFF grades. Iowa has top-rated grades for the O-line, yet USC is ranked higher in run offense.
Maybe that has to do with USC's running backs being graded higher, I would imagine. Outside of that, I'm not really sure.
Having us explain PFF grades is probably not what you want. It's just sort of like it's a nice guide to have. If you think some player didn't play that well and you look at his PFF grades and they're not very high, you're like, yeah, I don't think he played that well, But if some running back ran for 150 yards and he's got bad PFF grades because he missed a couple blocks or something, you're like, okay, I'm not really putting a lot into that. So, you get some generalities from it, like, hey, I was, good at running the ball, or they're good on defense or whatever. Like, but I wouldn't. Well, this guy's a little bit of like I wouldn't worry about that too much.
We've got a question from Anthony. He says, Connor, what was the biggest takeaway you saw in the Iowa-Oregon game that USC can take advantage of?
It's a good question. Make sure you stop Gronowski on the ground, first of all.
Yeah.
That is a huge key. That 4th down run for the touchdown he had was big. I think it would just be challenged that secondary, because you look at Iowa's schedule. They played Iowa State and lost earlier. I don't know if they've played a passing offense like USC's. So they did a nice job against Indiana at home.
Purdue got a bunch of yards on them, I think.
Iowa?
Oh, was it Purdue? It was
maybe Minnesota. Not Minnesota. Penn State?
Oh, crap. Someone threw for like 300 yards on them.
Not Wisconsin. They got shut out.
I think somebody talked about that in the chat.
Rutgers?
Oh, yeah, Rutgers. Yeah.
Rutgers.
Okay.
So
Kelly
do what
McManus.
Rutgers did. No, I think if I'm USC, just do what you do, because I think it's good enough to, like, I wouldn't go in and say, like Oregon did, we have to run the ball. That's the only way we can win. I think USC is so versatile, and the Lincoln Riley's done such a good job of adjusting. I have a hard time watching. I watched that second half of that game saying, oh, here's what USC can exploit, because I thought Iowa played a pretty good game. And the whole recipe for USC these last few weeks has just been outscoring opponents. So whatever that advantage is that Lincoln Riley finds, I'd say go with that. Maybe it's a tight end if Iowa's secondary is doing a nice job on Jacoby Lane and Mekhi Lemon, and that'll open up things for McCree and Lyons. I think the fact that USC has so many options, use that to your advantage, and it's hard right now to say like they'll have this specific matchup be in their favor, but they just have so many advantageous matchups that something has to give, and whatever that matchup is, exploit that. How do you like that dime store analysis?
No, I think that's perfect. Do that, like throw the ball, like get a lead, and don't let the quarterback run.
Because I don't think that they can do what Oregon did, and that's not a bad thing. Oregon is just built in a very specific
Yeah.
way with those injuries.
They can do something more, which is
Yes.
open things up through the passing game and do that, exploit that.
And use Maava's legs too. That's been a huge.
They've done
key.
that the last couple of weeks, and they did not against Notre Dame. They need to do that more.
4 more questions. Mike on East Lake, Notre Dame, FSU canceled next year. Possible that USC ND gets worked out in place of that.
I put something in the war room on it. Pretty confident that you're going to at least see 2 more years of USC Notre Dame. But you can read more about it Friday's war room. I don't know if that's the Florida State game had much to do with that, but the whole timing of when USC and Notre Dame play and all that. But I think you're going to see status quo for the next 2 years, and then maybe something changes.
If that happens, I'm going to be very happy. I think that was always the most logical solution. Do a short-term thing, see what crazy college football stuff is going to happen in the 2 years,
Yeah.
and then adjust. And I do hope that eventually a compromise can be made where maybe 1 year the game's in September, if that's really important to USC, and then the next year it's in November. Like, I think they can find some common ground. I'm hopeful that they can, but I'm very happy with a short-term extension if that's what happens.
Yeah, we'll see. It's what we think is going to happen, but who knows?
Next year is really tough, though, with that game.
Yeah.
Let's see. Another question from Ted. SC played Notre Dame in the rain and threw the ball effectively. With Jaden's arm strength, should we be able to maintain offensive balance?
They threw the ball effectively until they didn't,
Yeah,
I'd
until
say,
the fourth
when it
quarter.
really started coming down.
I don't know if that was weather or just like situation too, but weather probably had something to do with it.
I just want my take to be right that the weather would affect the game,
Yeah,
so I'm
yeah.
riding with that. No, I think there's a middle ground. The fact that they were down and had to
And
really
they did have the
rely on
lead, and
pass.
threw the ball to get that in the middle of the third quarter, and then just sort of after that kickoff return for a touchdown, it just put like USC's offense had pressure on it, scored, and the pressure 7 seconds later was back on the offense, and I think that's when the stretch of turnovers and stuff started to happen, and then they were pressing, and it just wasn't going well.
I don't think the storm makes it impossible for USC to throw the ball, but I think we all have to acknowledge it makes it a little more difficult, so that changes.
I'm just not a weather matters person.
All right, Ryan, in fall camp when we're allowed to watch and they soak the balls and USC drops half of them, I think that
That was real.
proves
Yeah.
the point. Like, that makes a difference for this team, and that's okay. Like, it's a spread offense, air raid team. Of course it makes a difference.
Jeff asks, do you think it's possible USC and Michigan go independent after 2036 over this PE move?
I'm going to let you take that one.
Oh, 2036, huh? We're talking a lot. So yes, the private equity stuff, there's, it seems a little weird the way this is going on. A lot of reports coming out that multiple university boards weren't fully informed, but it seems like ADs and presidents were more involved. I don't know like if it's like a power dynamic at the schools that they're upset, but it does seem like some of this stuff is like, why are you doing this? Like, what do you need a whole bunch of money for? I don't know. USC is one of the teams that are opposing this. Michigan's the other one. I think you have pretty good company there. I don't think the Big Ten is as powerful without 2 of their biggest brands. Ohio State, that's great to have that in your back pocket. But, I think you want Michigan that's more traditional, and USC's, traditional but not to the Big Ten. I've always said that USC could go independent if they had a partner like Michigan. There was going to be some crazy stuff that would happen. But I think it's more of, like Connor was saying, there's negotiations and leverage and all that. And I don't think they want to lock things up in this really tumultuous time in college football for 20 years and be locked into some grant of rights deal where you're tied to Rutgers and Purdue and all that stuff. Like, do you need to do that? Like, what do you need this infusion of cash for? I mean, everyone, you've talked to people with private equity, like it never goes the way you think it's going to go. Some of the people I've talked to said, like, if you're taking private equity money, it's because you're trying to grow. If you're doing it as like because I need to pay the bills, you're doing it for the wrong reasons. Like if you need if Connor Inc. is like needs to make more widgets and like
Already out of business.
I need $1 million in cash to like produce more widgets so I can grow the business. You're like, that's the reason why, not like I'm behind on bills, so I'm going to take this money. Now you just owe more people more stuff, and they're going to have a control of what you do. So that's kind of my like rudimentary understanding of if you're going to try to use private equity. So I think the way college football is right now, I'm on the USC Michigan side here. Like, do you really need this? Now, maybe the SEC goes and does it if the Big Ten doesn't, or maybe they do anyway. I don't know. But I would say that's something that you could, like a Michigan State probably couldn't do it, but like a Michigan and a USC could, especially if they were partnered and they played their Olympic sport games, in another conference and just independent football deal. I don't know. They could figure something out, kind of like Notre Dame does. So, yeah, I think that's a possibility, but I think 2036, it's like, I don't think the Big Ten wants to sign away something where you're going to lose Michigan and USC.
I agree. I think it's because of the rev share, though, where now athletic departments have 18 to however many $1 million that they need to shell out every year that they didn't before. Oh, here's some quick cash to help us with that. But
which I don't think is the right reason.
No, I agree. I totally agree with what you said. And if you're USC, Michigan, Ohio State, why do you need the quick cash when you have donors, you have other avenues to get money? Why is this in their best interest? If you're UCLA, hemorrhaging money, no football stadium, in an awful spot, I get why you'd be desperate. I don't know why USC and Michigan are the only teams against this, though.
Yeah, I would think there'd be more teams. And who's giving you the money? The University of California pension system? Like, what? USC wants to get involved in that crap? Like,
bizarre.
no. Yeah, that's the other thing. Like, we don't want to get involved in this. Like, I could see USC's interim president and all of them being like, we're not going to get in bed with the UC system, pension funds in California anyway. Like, I don't know what's going on there, but holy cow! Like that just seems like the weirdest. Date to the prom that you could ever have. So I get why you wouldn't want to do that.
Last two questions. Fight on Natties says, in your opinion, do you feel USC has gotten enough return on the transfers other than Fitzgerald money-wise?
Probably not, but they need those guys. They need Keyshawn Silver in the middle, even though he's had an up and down year. Fitzgerald's been good. Who else has done anything off the top of my head? The guys who have played have been.
I mean, like the running backs were good and stuff.
Important. Yes, the running backs were very good before. Sanders, Like if they hadn't done that, and you start the year with King Miller, would have been a great story. But we all would have been like, "What are they doing?" So that was important. But yeah, they've had some misses. So probably not to answer the question, but I do think the guys that have played a lot, you've needed them, and they've been important. So that's just kind of the way it goes.
And then last question, Dylan in Albuquerque. I'm headed to the game this weekend. What is the details for the House of Victory tailgate you often mention, and where is it located on campus?
It is not on campus. It's Christmas Tree Lane. So if you're looking at the Coliseum and you see the statues and the torch, it's in that big grassy area. If you're looking from like the 110 freeway, and it'll be more on the left-hand side. You can walk up and buy tickets right there, or you can go to housevictory.com and buy tickets ahead of time. I'm not sure about the sellout situation for this one. They got more people, I think, than they even expected at the Northwestern game, but that was a Friday one. This is an early tailgate, so it's a little bit different. I didn't see what the menu was, but usually they have some cool stuff for there's been a few early tailgates at home, some 12:30 games. But yeah, you can go check out housevictory.com for more details, or just walk up and get your tickets. Connor and I were there on what day was that? That was
Friday.
Yeah, it was Friday. The food was legit. Very, very good.
I recommend it. A little pricey, but hey, if you can make it work, you can make it work.
Yeah.
And you get free drinks and free food. So if you eat a ton, it's worth it.
Yeah,
There
go
you
there.
go.
You can,
Jeff says passes are still available.
Oh, good. There you go. So they haven't sold that one out yet, so go check it out. And if you're there early, get there. It's 3 hours ahead of time. So if you get there at 9:30, I'll probably be there. Come say hi.
Woo. That's it. That's all the questions.
Yay! All right, cool. Good stuff.
Awesome
You
stuff.
guys-
Off to practice now.
Yeah.
You guys heading over to practice?
Yeah, sure are.
Sweet. Well, go have fun. All you peeps out there, Trojan fans, this is a big one. Hope you show up. They really would like to get the Coliseum rocking. And, yeah, it's, I mean, this is one of those games that for the next couple of years, you're going to be like, how to lose to Iowa? You know, they couldn't score, blah, 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 blah. Or, man, that was a great win and all that stuff. So this is, that Michigan game, I think it was very similar. Last year, there was a lot of opportunities for like, could have beat Penn State or, could have beat Michigan on the road. There's so many of those. And this year, it's like, hey, you got that Michigan win. You got that win at Nebraska. This would be another good one. Like get those, especially a traditional Big Ten power, a running team, all that kind of stuff. Show them, hey, USC's in town. We're going to show you some offense. And I just don't want to see USC just look like crap on offense. I want them to showcase what they've got. And they certainly have the ability to do that. So that's what I'm looking to see.
I'm with you. I think the offense has taken some big strides since the Nebraska game, and unlocking Maiava's legs were huge. If they can keep it going, that'll be significant.
All right.
Awesome.
Cool. You want to take us out?
You got it. You started it. You got
All right.
You started it, Ryan.
I did start this one. That's automatic over there. Our sharpshooter, India Otto, triple-double. That's what he averaged for his high school basketball team. Is that right?
Yes.
You averaged very nice. That's where
Hell
the nickname
yeah.
comes from. Connor Morrissette, and I'm Ryan Abraham. I hope you guys enjoyed the show.